Hello, Jane, and a big thank you for giving up your time to come on and talk to everybody. It's really appreciated.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Pleasure. Thanks for asking me.
No, absolutely. So I've been looking at your CV, and honestly, I mean, what a fantastic array of jobs and everything. I mean, are you happy just to give us like a little potted history of everything, how you started, and what sort of got you to the stage where you're at now?
Sure. I mean, gosh, it's going back quite a long way. I started off wanting to work in theatre. That was my first love.
Yeah.
So I went to Mount View Theatre
Right.
School, and I did stage management and set
Right.
design and light design and all that.
Yeah.
But then I just found that I really enjoyed working with the actors
Right.
rather than doing the techie stuff.
Yeah.
It was very impersonal and wasn't very creative. Stage management wasn't, and I wasn't great at set designing and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
And a friend of mine suggested casting,
Mm.
and I went, wow, because when I read a book, which I do all the time, I automatically put actors into the characters in the book. So I just thought that would be perfect. So
Yeah.
I wrote round all the casting directors. No one could take me on. They suggested writing to a lot of agents, so I got a job with an agent. And then the casting director who I met moved into the same offices and got busy, and she said, do you want to come with me? So that was 1983.
Right.
So I worked with her, with Liz Cassidy, for 3 years.
Yeah.
And then I worked with the Hubbards for about 7 months.
Right.
And then started on my own 87.
Yeah.
My dad did a bit of PR for me, sending around plastic frisbees all around Soho.
Right.
And I got a call from Mel Smith, the comedian. He said, I'm directing now, and got your frisbee. I like it, and I want you to cast this commercial I'm directing.
Fantastic.
So that was my break. Yeah.
Oh, that's absolutely brilliant. And is there any particular areas that you did you feel that with theatre, do you find there's any particular areas that you prefer to work in, as in, i.e., commercials or short films, that kind of thing, or
it's funny, John, to be honest. It sort of goes in phases, because I started out doing commercials. I did I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of them, and you get put in that box.
Yeah.
And then I started I was casting for a guy called Peter Chelsom,
right,
who was an actor who I met by chance in the street and got in touch with, and he went, oh, I'm going to be directing now, which I actually found out through a magazine.
Yeah.
And I met up with Peter and had a meeting, cast a few commercials with him.
Yeah.
And then he rang up one night and said, right, I'm going to be directing a feature film, and I want you to cast it. And that was my first feature. So from that film, I did another quite high profile feature, and the directors went off to LA, and that sort of died out. So I've sort of become the queen of short films. Recently. And
which is where we met, isn't it?
Where we met, yes.
At Spotlight offices, yes.
Yeah.
That's a lot with, is it the National Film Television and Television?
Yes.
Yeah, and isn't that festival or something? That, because I know I auditioned. Was it a festival that you do every year or something with the National Film?
It's an absolutely amazing event, which was just about to start it this year when it obviously got cancelled. They take 66 16 to 19-year-old kids from all around the UK that work in the BFI academies.
Right.
And they go to the National Film School for 2 weeks. They split into 6 groups of 11, and each of these groups of kids makes a short film.
Right.
And it means I have to read all 6 shorts and cast them in one day. And it's
what a job.
It's a challenge.
Yeah, I remember seeing you in Spotlight, and you were literally backwards and forwards in the upstairs, and you do that in one day. Did you say?
We cast it in one day, bar the roles I might have read, and like there was one, I think it was that year actually, John, where they needed an elderly actor. I mean, when I say elderly, sort of 80-ish.
Right.
And he's arrested for murdering his wife.
Right.
He doesn't speak throughout the short, and it turns out that she was very sick, and it was euthanasia. He put a pillow over her face.
Oh my
I
God.
said, we need an incredible actor for this, and we offered it to Ronald Pickup, and he did it.
Oh, Ronnie, I know Ronnie, yeah, from the National when I was there. Yeah, he's a lovely man, isn't he?
He's gorgeous,
Yeah.
really, really lovely. So we were blessed in that way. You know, sometimes we put offers out if it's quite a tricky one.
Yes.
But yeah, it's a brilliant event. It really is.
That's fantastic. And since all this mayhem, this madness has hit everybody, were you sort of about to start casting something? Did you have something lined up? I'm sure you probably did.
I did. Well, firstly, that year 8 of the BFI NFTS residency, I just cast a beautiful play by Peter Gill called Small Change. That was going to the Omnibus Theatre. We'd literally just cast it. And I was working on another play by Philip Ridley it just started rehearsing in Southwark. I had to part ways with it, unfortunately, during the process, due to some issues, and the director had to walk as well. But that obviously that got cancelled.
So, where does that leave you now then? I mean, have you got stuff kind of like, as the doors are very, very slowly opening, as it were, is there anything that is starting to happen for you now? And I say that
there's quite a lot. I suddenly got this TV series. It's like a pilot. They're going to shoot 6 episodes in July, August. It's 20-minute episodes, so they're shooting 6. We're doing chemistry reads on Tuesday. All the prospective cast auditioning are being picked up by cars and driven home, as I am. So that's been ongoing for the last sort of 4 weeks.
Yes.
And also the good old NFTS commercial course. I'm casting 6 little commercials for that director's course, and they're shooting one next week. 2, 3, 4 the following week.
And I'm assuming, obviously, with the casting process, with COVID and social distancing, it's all going to be done remotely, or is it going to be done kind of the self-tape process?
It's all been self-tapes up to now, next week with the series. Where
how do you feel about this self-taping thing as an ongoing process for yourself?
It's not something I would choose to cast by, to be honest. Particularly for theatre, I just don't think it works. But I think, unfortunately, theatre's going to suffer more than film in the current climate. I think it's really sad. And I love my theatre. That's where I find a lot of talent. But I think with film, I mean, with this TV series, they've got the money to make it. And if everything's okay come sort of mid-end July, they'll go ahead and do it. So
it's I think that like you were saying about the fact that there's no, with theatre or with anything, it being in the room with the casting director, the director and the actors, it's much more personal, isn't it?
So much so. With theatre particularly, I just don't see how anyone could cast that from self-tapes. I just don't. It's so much about your presence in the room and the relationship with the director, and if you get on with the director, if you get each other, if you know what I mean. I just think it's so important,
and that makes a big difference, doesn't it? I'm going to swiftly move on with just a couple of things I'd like to ask you. And then we'll get on to the Q&A, if that's okay with you, Jay.
Absolutely lovely, John.
Right. Well, the first thing I was going to ask was when you personally receive, you put your breakdown out, you get all your submissions in from your agents, and obviously some people will submit directly to you. Do you accept? I mean, I assume you accept direct submissions from actors as well.
Very much so. I mean, I'm normally just put it to agents and to people who are on the link board without agents. So I don't see how you can exclude people that haven't got an agent. It's not fair.
No. Well, that's absolutely, that's actually refreshing to hear, to be quite honest. So okay. Supposing, say, you had been casting something like Downton Abbey, that kind of a thing. What is it when you see the CV and the photograph? of that a particular actor? What makes them stand out? What makes you go, wow, that person, I want to see them?
It's so specific to what you're casting. I
Right.
mean, initially, obviously, what jumps out is a specific look, if it's right or wrong.
Yes.
And then if that leaps out, then I'd look at the CV and look
Yep.
at experience, which directors people have worked with, and if they've done sort of fairly similar sort of work in the
Yeah.
past.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, that's great. And the other thing I should have asked this question first, but I've heard, I don't know how true this is, that there are quite a lot of castings coming in, and at this moment in time with COVID, for younger actors, because apparently older actors, because older people are more at risk with COVID. Does that, have I asked that correctly? If that makes sense, as in anything you're getting in now, people that you're considering for work. Are you finding that it's a lot of younger actors because they're at less risk? I'm not making light of COVID, but you know, if you get what I mean. And
I mean, I don't know if that's the case. I mean, this TV series I'm casting is very, very. It's set in Town. It's about a group of street kids, and my biggest task is trying to find the 4 leads, and we see them initially when they're sort of 12 to 14, and then we see them when they're 17, 18. Right. So not only are we casting them, we have to match them up.
Right.
And it's been a massive.
I'm sure, yeah. But it's good, isn't it? It's you know, it's. I mean, that's your job. That's what you enjoy doing.
I love it.
And it's a challenge, but at the same time, you know, you're enjoying it, and that's the main thing. And I think this is what I say all along with this business. You know, it's got its ups and downs, but you know, we're there to try and enjoy ourselves and get on wherever we possibly can. You know. So anyway, look, what I'm going to do, Jane, I'm going to move on to the Q&As now. Cool. And I'm going to get down this list. Hopefully we can get to everybody, and I do apologize if we don't get to. But anyway, the first person I've got here, have we got Safira Chatton? No? Doesn't sound as if.
Yeah. Hello.
Oh,
hi.
There she is.
Hi, Safira. If you'd like to unmute yourself, and Jane is here, and she'll be quite happy to take your question.
Hi, Jane.
Hi, Safira.
Thank you for doing this.
Pleasure.
So it's not exactly, I hope you don't mind, but it's not exactly finding out what the casting process is as much. But I'm actually writing a treatment for a TV show at the moment. I'm in talks with a production company to do a TV pilot. If it was to go on after the TV pilot, because I'm sure we could cast that with actors that we know in our community in Birmingham, how would we approach casting director? What would we give you if we were looking for a casting director to go ahead and cast the TV series? What would you want? What would the negotiations process be? How would the relationship work?
It's literally, I mean, initially a case of reading the scripts and seeing if that's something, you know, whichever casting director is interested in working on. Then obviously you need to negotiate a sort of timeline and a fee.
Yeah.
Simple as that, really, to be honest. I think initially it's getting it to the right person who sort of enjoys whatever field the series is in, whether it's comedy or drama or, you know, youth, and trying to find somebody that would suit that, and sending them all the scripts and just seeing if once they've read them that they're like, yeah, I'd love to do this, or it's, you know, it's just not for me, and go from there.
Okay.
Thank
you.
I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, it's basically research the right casting director for that particular production, first of all.
Yeah, I mean, I think most casting directors have a website, or they're on the casting directors, whatever it is, guild, and so you can do a bit of research and see who you think might be up for it.
So just the scripts, not synopsis or
synopsis, obviously any information you've got, all the heads of department you might have attached, that's always good. Director, DOP, anything like that, it's good.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much, Sophia. Okay, Jennifer Castillo. Do we have Jennifer? No? Okay. Safa, I can see you're waiting there. If you'd like to unmute yourself and fire away with your question, please. Yeah, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, unmute yourself, please, darling. Bottom left.
Do you hear me now?
There we go. There we are. Right.
Okay, awesome. Hi, Jane. Hi, John.
Hiya. Hi.
So yeah, my question is, do credits matter to you?
I think when you're looking at a lot of people, I mean, obviously for certain things you get a lot of suggestions. As I said before, initially it's who looks suitable. Sometimes it's not as important, you know, the brief can be wide open. So I don't know what it is that makes me just click on a photo. But obviously after that, you do look at CVs. But to be honest, I'm not that fussy about big credits. It's just more a feel of something. Again, it's so very specific to what you're casting. I mean, this one I'm casting now, the kids, doesn't matter if they've never acted in anything professional before. It really doesn't matter.
I've been submitted for the role, so
doesn't matter for the credits. You know, if you're casting a 10-year-old, and you just get a feel from their approach or their background that they feel right for the part, because kids don't often have training. You know, you can find a kid that hasn't had any training, has not done any professional work, and they're amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not always about credits, to be honest.
Does that help, Safa? Is that giving you some idea?
Because I've been submitted for the pilot. So yeah, but so for younger people, it's usually not important.
Okay, thanks very much. Thank you. Okay, so I've got Kerry Ely here.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Kerry. Right, if you'd like to ask your question, Jane's here and waiting.
Hopefully a quick one for you. You said about credits just then. I was wondering about real life experience. So for Black Lines, did you look for people that had actual military experience, or were you trusting of agents and actors to be truthful, that they could be physical?
Firstly, I don't know what Black Lines is. I don't think.
I read that on your...
Oh, Black Line. Oh God, that was eons ago. Oh God, no, that was that. God, I remember that. We had to cast it in a nightclub in the middle of the day. It was very, very surreal. No, I don't think. No, I didn't look for military background in that. No, okay. Not at all. No. Even though I think it was mad. I think they actually went and shot in Beirut and nearly got bloody shot at.
Oh my
wow.
God.
Seriously.
I was going to ask if you had a horror story, but I'm guessing that was it.
There's a lot of horror stories.
So does that help, Kerry?
That was it. I've just seen so many castings recently that say real this and real experience in this, and I was like, what's acting then? So that was really reassuring to hear. Thank you.
Right,
Pleasure.
Thank you, Kerry. That's great. Okay, Steve Broad. Have we got Steve here? Steve, in 3, 2, 1. Okay. We've got another Jennifer here. Jennifer, and all I've got is 4 connecting times connecting. I'm sure that's not her surname. Oh gosh. Okay. Right. Well, Grace. Have we got Grace LaBachelet here? All these people that want to ask questions.
What are they doing? It's sunny evening. They've all
I know. Well, I know.
gone off for their daily walks.
They must have done. There you go. Kiara Hicks Evans. Do we have Kiara here?
Yes, I am here. Hello.
Oh, hey, hello.
It's pronounced Kira, but I'll let you off. Don't worry.
Right. Okay. So the floor is yours.
Lovely to meet you all, and Jane as well. I just wanted to ask, I am a 2020 graduate. I've just finished my university degree, and I'm just thinking, where do I start in this big sea?
Oh wow. So where did you go to uni?
Yes, I went to Staffordshire University and did acting for screen and stage.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. I think it's great to get a degree as well. I mean, everyone seems to think that that's a really good idea just to have under your belt. And you're based up there, I guess, as well.
Yes, I live in Crewe, Cheshire, so it's 20 minutes away from Stoke.
Cool. I mean, I guess if I were you, I'd sort of start out looking for maybe productions that are maybe based up there or in that area, looking for maybe local people. And Stoke has a big theatre, doesn't it?
It has like the New Vic, the Regent, Victoria Hall has a couple.
Quite a lot of theatres as well. You could definitely get in touch with, find out what they're up to. Unfortunately, I don't know what is going to happen with theatre or when theatre's going to open up. I mean, I had tickets booked for the end of July for Stratford-on-Avon, and that was all cancelled. I had another ticket for Lyric Hammersmith in August. That's gone. But I think being in that area, I definitely probably firstly try and get local work rather than thinking you've got to be in London or audition for stuff down there. It could be a good start. And I'm sure there's local casting directors up there, you know, who are based more up north. Like Ken Loach is casting director, and I think they're all sort of based up around, you know, up in Manchester, up near northern areas. So that would be a sort of start, I think.
Yeah, as I know there's a casting director for the New Vic as there, and I don't know how I would approach them. Would I just give them a cover letter sort of thing?
Absolutely, drop an email, CV and photo, just a bit about yourself. And yeah, I just think you've got to keep being proactive and networking and go to the theatres and see stuff and see who's around. You know, there might be directors around for the opening nights if you can go to the first nights. And
it's about networking, isn't it?
I still a hell of a lot. I still do it. I still have to do it now.
Yeah, just getting your face out there and being seen by people, and you know, just even if it's just a chat at the bar with someone, and you know, and often things can develop from there. You know, I'm not saying go in there and get absolutely rat-assed, but you know.
I mean, that's how I got my first feature with Peter, or my first casting with Peter Chelsom, because he was an actor.
Yes.
And I came out of a pub, funnily enough, with my dad, and I'd left my jacket in there, and I suddenly thought, oh no, I've left my jacket. And this guy came running out and said, oh, I think you left your jacket. And I went, oh, thanks. And I said, oh, that's Peter Chelsom, you know, he used to do a lot of the RSC and the National. And so I wrote to him, and he said, oh, it's very odd to get a letter from a casting director being an actor, but yeah, I'm starting to direct. And I had read that, so you know, you just got to grasp the moment sometimes.
Yes, exactly. So, you happy with that?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
Oh, that's lovely.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much. Right, Kaylee. Do we have Kaylee Rawlinson? No. Oh dear me. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Should be appear in a moment. What about Tyrone? Have we got Tyrone here? Another one.
Come on, Tyrone, where are you?
I know, honestly, this is crazy. Right, okay, 3, 2, 1, gone.
Right, came off the list. Okay, Tyrone.
Right, we have got. What about Gemma? Gemma Wallace. Have we got Gemma here?
Hello.
Gemma.
Yes,
hello.
No, hi. Right, the floor is yours, Gemma.
Perfect, thank you. So my question is regarding accents. If a role specifically say a certain accent, do you consider people who don't have that accent, or like obviously they need to portray it well, but do you still consider people who don't have that as a native?
I would. To be honest, initially I would look at people that had that as a natural accent, particularly with film. I just think if you're looking for a genuine Scot or a genuine Irish or a genuine, you know, real East End Londoner, for me, I would try and find the genuine article before I looked at people who were totally convincing in the accent, to be honest. But There you go.
No, that's fair enough. Thank you.
Well, yeah.
Cheers.
Okay, you're happy with that, Gemma? Does that sort
Yeah.
of give you- Great, thank you very
Yeah,
much.
all good. Thank you.
Lovely.
Can I say
Okay,
something?
so we'll move on to, we've got Maggie Evans. Is Maggie?
Could I just say something?
No, could I ask you to mute yourself, please, Ram? We're just in the middle of onto somebody else. Thank you. We've got Maggie Evans. No. Zuza. Do we have Zuza? God, I think everybody's gone out for a picnic.
I find it very interesting that we haven't seen any males this evening.
Right. Well, we're about to
Oh.
move on. John Fulger. So it's over to you, John.
Good evening, Jane.
Hello.
Nice to talk with you this evening. It's just to touch more on something you spoke with John about earlier, the self-tape situation that we have at the moment. Now, I live in the wilderness of Scotland, and you can appreciate for me to nip down to London for 5 minutes, it's 200 and odd quid. Do you think that, because I've seen a lot of casting directors going this way, of the initial round of auditions being self-tapes and then called in for recalls, so you actually get that physical one-to-one rather than nipping down, you know, for me it's a 5.5 hour journey to London, so you can appreciate it's a 12-hour day round trip for 5 minutes. It's just, do you think this is something that will become more common now that we've had, what, effectively 4 months of directors doing this?
I do, absolutely. I think it will become more common. I always used to think it was quite lazy on the part of the director not to want to meet everybody, but now this has become an option, I think. I mean, I think it always was, to be honest with you, John, for people that lived hundreds and hundreds of miles away. It would be terrible. I'd feel really guilty dragging somebody down for a 5-minute casting. As you said, it took them all day to get there. So I think self-tapes initially in that respect have always been on the cards. But I think it's going to become much more so now, even if people are local, which is pros and cons. I think there's good side and bad side to that.
Yes, because my agent tries to, whenever possible, ask the director if it's all right for, like I say, self-tape for the first round. And we normally get really good feedback. So it's been very successful for me.
No, I think it's brilliant, as you say. I mean, then you don't feel obligated, or you know, you have to live in London because all the casting's in London. And I think technology's really helped a lot in that way. As you know, I go back to the days where we didn't have email, and you know, you'd have to physically post the script to people, or you know, or the good old days of fax, where you had to fax scripts through. So I mean, technology's been a massive bonus.
Yeah.
It must work, though it works well for us as actors. It's got to work well for you guys as casting directors, because you can tell within the first, say, 60 seconds whether that person's going to fit or not.
Totally, yeah, absolutely.
Rather than having 60 people sat in a waiting room that you've got to go bang, 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 bang through. You're going to get people doing their own input because, you know, they're stuck in their own room at home.
Yeah, well, I think a lot more now. We've found, you know, people, yeah, they just, you know, it's great to be able to get an audition and to do it from your front room if you can't physically go anywhere. And it works well. It's been working really well. So.
Well, thank you very much for all that positive input. Thank you very much.
Pleasure, John. Pleasure.
Thanks, John. Kerry, you've been waiting patiently. I'm going to bring you on now, please, Kerry. Right. Freighter. Sorry, yes. You'd like to unmute yourself, Kerry.
Yeah, sorry, John. There's too many Kerrys around these days.
Right, the floor's yours. We've got James here to speak with you.
Right. Well, the main question for me is really making initial contact. I'm a latecomer into the industry. I basically have a corporate background. That means although my love is acting, I have a business head as well. And that means building up the contacts. And I don't want to look like an idiot by sort of not following general etiquette. So, for example, I can see from your CV, you do a lot of shorts. And that's great to have the buzz of doing that. And you're based predominantly London and Dublin. But would you therefore still, for example, if I sent you, I know some of the others might do, my CV to say, I think I could be useful in certain areas. Do you have a team? Do you have a group of actors that you work with closely? Therefore, they are your first go. Would you still consider people from the provinces of the West Midlands?
The provinces of the West Midlands. Well, I'm from Leicester myself, so I would never exclude anyone even further out of the Midlands. But Leicester's as Midland as you can get. So no, not at all. I don't think, I wouldn't want to exclude anybody who, just because they don't live in London. And I was saying, I think with the self-tapes, it's opened a lot of doors now.
Yeah.
For an initial audition.
Are the budgets there to allow for people to travel though? Because I mean, as with my agent, I'm putting up for a lot of stuff, and they seem to be, the budgets aren't there anymore. So when they say, "Oh, I live here," and then there seems to be a little bit of an issue.
There can be, that's true. And I mean, if you've got any sort of base in London, obviously it's helpful. Because I think if they're looking at, if it is a low budget, and I cast a lot of low budget stuff, they obviously have to look at travel and accommodation. I mean, I cast a very low budget film, whenever it was, called Jellyfish, and there was no money. It was all just expenses, and they shot it in Margate, so everyone was staying in Margate, and they got their travel and they got their expenses. But we got an incredible cast, an absolutely incredible cast, because the script was so good. So often it's not, I don't know, often it is a case of budget where they're shooting, but in some cases not, I think everything's very specific to the project, and if they're willing to maybe entertain a couple of people who they have to travel down from wherever and accommodate, then they will do. It just depends how much they want someone, really.
All right, thank you.
Hopefully that helps a bit.
Well, it's just, all information's good, and so you're always learning something new every day as well. So yeah, more information I have, the better. I'm totally insatiable for information.
There's lots of it out there.
Yeah.
Right. So have we got, is it Ore? O-R-E, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Ore Sanderson? No, there's another one out in the sun having a barbecue on their own, probably. What about Harry Locke? Do we have Harry Locke here? No? Okay.
Jill wants to ask a question.
Right, I'm going to go on to this gentleman, and when you hear his voice, Jane, stand back, because it's a brilliant voice, but it sounds like a voiceover for Star Wars, and I'm going to bring on Ram. So Ram, if you'd like to unmute yourself and fire away with your question, if he's still there. Are you there, Ram? His picture's there, and he's not coming on. I'll go back to him. Sorry about this, Jane.
All right, it's all right.
I'm going to pick
technology.
I'm going to pick on somebody at random. Alex, off the top of your head, is there something you'd like to maybe ask Jane? You have to unmute yourself. I can't hear you. Yeah. Can you unmute yourself? Yeah. That's it.
No, hi. Yeah, no, I don't have a question off the top of my head though, because it was already one I had in mind was already answered. Thank you for that.
Right.
So,
okay.
yeah,
Right.
we're giving away with someone
Right.
else.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Okay, Ram, if you'd like to. This is the Star Wars man with the Star Wars voice. If you'd like to fire away with your question, Jane, I'm sure we'll be happy to help.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't have any question. I was just about to apologize for being late.
Because I have on the list.
Really bad. Being late, terrible thing. Being late.
I thought I was 30 minutes early, but I was 30 minutes late. I feel pathetic, to be honest.
Come on, I'm sure you can think of something. You're a great orator, so let's see. Just see what you can come up with.
Oh, all right. Right. So, right. I was asking about. I was contacting a director. And I'm shaking. Look at me. He's really also interested in me. I've got no idea. So, I wanted to tell him, like, in general, what is it look? What are the plans for me to actually work with him, like with my voice in general? So we had a massive meeting about 6 hours ago for 6 hours, and he was one of the honorable guests. And I, of course, he just got to stand up and say, "What the fuck is that voice?" I'm sorry for my profanity. I'm sweating. He's like a top director in Dubai, and he's just messaging me, and I'm freaking out. So so yeah. May I please know what? I'm really confused. Can I have a minute to just gather my thoughts?
We can come back to you if we've time. Definitely.
Yeah. I'm truly nervous. Bloody hell! All right.
Right.
You don't look as though you should be nervous.
No, absolutely. Vincent, have you got anything you might like to ask?
Less about the actor side, but are there like projects you wouldn't do if you get approached by directors?
Going way back, I was asked, I'm going way back, to do a commercial for South Africa and apartheid, and I just said absolutely no way I'm doing that. I think probably I got asked the Sun newspaper and I said no. There are very few things, but I mean if I read a script and I just don't like it, then, and I had one in recently and it was like, well, we haven't got any money but we need an A-list name, can you get it to anybody to read? And I'm like, well, you're not funded, you're not paying me. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, quite absolutely.
That's your job. You're producing this film and raising money, you go and do it yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Professionally made, professionally paid.
Exactly.
So there we go. That's it. Does that answer your question, Vincent?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a follow-up question as well. So with
Jellyfish, go ahead.
I've not watched it yet, but you said it was just expenses paid only? Or how?
Jellyfish, yeah, it was. I mean, the director, James Gardner, was at the National Film and TV School, and I worked on all his shorts there, his first year film, his middle year film, and his grad film, which did really well. Something called Ferris and the Fancy Pigeon, which most of the cast were in Wales, actually. And then after his grad screening, he said, I want to talk to you about this passion project of mine. And he told me the story and I read the script. And it was a great story. And the lead girl had to be 16 and there's quite a lot of sexual content in there. And it was about finding her initially to get the film off the ground. And yeah, everyone that read it wanted to do it, which was extraordinary, but it all comes from the script. It really does. And yeah, it was expenses, travel and accommodation. It was only a 4-week.
What was the synopsis of that film?
Jellyfish was about a girl born and bred and living in Margate, 16 year old. Her mum has medical issues, probably bipolar, I think, and she has 2 little siblings, 2 little boy and girl twins who are about 9, 10. And to make ends meet, because her mum can't work, she starts working in a amusement arcade. And to make a little bit more money, she gives these local sort of pervy guys hand jobs around the back. And she ends up being raped by the guy who runs the arcade. And in the midst of all this at school, the drama teacher's encouraging her, because she's got a great feel for comedy, for stand-up comedy. And the last bit of the film is she goes in and she does this whole routine and basically tells everyone what she thinks of Margate and the people that live there.
And that was in 2017, wasn't it, that you did that?
17. Oh, could it 16, 17, something like that? Yeah.
Well, that's interesting, very interesting.
I mean, it had a mini theatrical release.
Right. Right.
I think it's out on Netflix or something. But yeah, I had a minimal theatrical release with Q&A with the director, and it's done pretty well.
Right, I'll tell you what, I'm just going to bring on, well, we'll get back to you in a moment, Ram. We're running out of time, but I'm going to bring on a very, very good friend of mine I've noticed that has come on, Claire Cox. And
hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen you before. We had a little shot of you before.
Yes.
Hiding under your cap.
Claire, I don't know if there's anything, I'm putting you on the spot maybe a little bit here, but if there's anything, I was at drama school with Claire. We won't go into all the details, but we go back a lot. We go back a lot of years. But Claire, is there anything that you might like to ask? Because Claire's coming back into the business, and is there anything you might like to ask Jane?
Yeah, I really am chomping at the bit here, having reconnected with John after 24 years, only in spectacles at Wimbledon Theatre. So really chomping at the bit to, relaunch my career. But the issue I have at the moment is that I only have the use of one hand and one arm. So, my restrictions in being cast in anything, because I can hardly be the one-handed Lady Macbeth. So obviously I'm looking more towards television and voiceovers, and I got a great demo tape, voiceover demo tape, which I'm sort of holding and not really knowing what to do with it. And and having gone on the voiceover course, they said, well, because my voice is particularly low and, doesn't get higher and higher as I get more and more excited. So, obviously your expertise are more on the theatre side of thing, but I'm really thinking the way for me to get back in initially will be with voiceovers or television, because there's no way that, how many roles would I be considered for when I've literally, John met me, I can only use one hand and one arm as a result of a serious accident at work. So I'm very tied.
Okay, I did a couple of days recently at the Park Theatre. They had a whole day of, we saw disabled actors, and it was an incredible day. So I know there's a lady there that sort of runs that side of things, but there's big equity register for disabled actors. It might well be worth looking into that and getting on that, because we saw a whole 2 days of people auditioning, and it was terrific. So I think if with that sort of disability, I think that would be probably a good way to go. And voiceovers, of course, yeah, definitely. But check that out. If I find for John, I'll forward on this connection at the Park Theatre. It's in Finsbury Park. Great theatre. Yeah.
And then I can pass that on to you, Claire. Thanks very much indeed, Claire. That's great. We'll chat a little bit later. I'm just going to quickly move back very quickly to Ram, and then we've time for just a couple more, and then we'll just round this up. Okay, so Ram, if you'd like to come back on again, but we're going to have to be relatively quick with this. I'm sorry.
Right.
Okay.
So it came to my attention that you're a casting director. So what I would like to ask, in your personal opinion, how do you find that specific actor is the actor when it comes to personality that he shows when he comes in?
Oh, very much so, to be honest. I think it's really important. Even with self-tapes, you can get an idea of somebody's personality. And for me, that's incredibly important, particularly in the room if you're actually coming into a casting session. If you get somebody that walks in and they're late and they haven't read the script and they haven't learnt their lines and they're not really bothered, it's like, well, you're clearly not interested in the job, and it seems like you don't really want to be here. Even if they're giving the wrong impression, then that will go down as, we know, not prepared, not interested. It just shows a lack of passion for whatever project you're coming in to audition for.
Yeah. So
It's really, really important.
the reason why I asked this question, real quick, John, is because people, they tell me, for example, you don't need to show that you're in dire need of that job. You know what I mean? You got to act like I don't give a hell, if I'm going to take it or not. So,
It seriously works.
So yeah, but this is what I was like really confused. If okay,
No, it's a state of mind. I think that if you go in and it's like desperation's falling out of every oracle, that's as equally as off-putting as somebody so arrogant that they're not bothered. I mean, you've got to be interested in the job, but in your head, to overcome nerves, it's like, well, these people are looking to cast somebody in this role, and if I'm right for it, then they want me. Then they're probably equally as nervous as you are because they need to get the role cast. So just think of it on the other side of the table as well as it just being everything focused on your one moment, in the room.
Does that help?
Thank you. Yes.
That's great. Lovely. Well, thank you.
I'm probably
very much.
gonna beat up my friend who told me that I'm not gonna supposed to act like in dire need.
Well, no, don't. But to give yourself confidence, you have to be aware that you're looking at the people on the other side of the table as well. Do you want to work with them? Do you like the director? You might be a total asshole, and you don't particularly want to work with him. So it's your decision as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Right. Okay. I think we can squeeze in two very quick ones. Ryan, is there something you might like to ask? Hi there. Anything you'd like to ask Jane?
Hello, John. Hi, Jane. Lovely to get to meet you, and thanks.
You too.
I am not. I am more focused on the directing aspect, and I'm wondering. I'm still in the early stages of training, and I'm wondering how to get more experience from a perspective of casting as a director.
What I think would be great is if you sort of offer to at auditions maybe read in, be the reader in with the actors auditioning. Okay. I've had people do that, and they say they learn so much, and obviously the more you do that and you work with different directors, I'd say that would be a great it'd be a lot of experience.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Does that help?
That's perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay. I'm going to go to Carla. I think Carla might. Is there something you'd like to ask Carla? Yeah, if you'd like to unmute yourself, please. If you press on the left, it says mute, and press that and it'll unmute. On the left of your screen. Have you got that? Bottom left. We're going to have to be quick, Carla, because we've got... No? Bottom left. No?
I believe Rachel has a question.
One moment. Can you just mute yourself, please, Ram? Sorry. Bottom left. That's it. You've got it. Yeah, you're going to have to be quick because I've got room for one more. Sorry, Carla.
Okay. Jane.
Hi.
Hello. How lovely of you to spare your time today. Quick question. I am a woman of a certain age, and officially I could be your great aunt or your old grandma, but I don't look like your great aunt or your old grandma. Would you advise me to try and age myself up with a wig or something of that nature, or just carry on the way I am?
No, absolutely carry on. I mean, it's so much about who you are and what your personality is. And I can see you're not a typical grandma. So, no, I mean, there's plenty of other roles open that you don't have to be like a sort of curly-haired, white-haired old man. I mean, I used to know a lady, she had her hair, she had really cropped hair, really short, and she was older than you. And she used to get called in for a lot of these parts. And if she went in with this hair, she wouldn't get them. So she got herself a little grey curly wig.
Yeah.
Like getting parts, but you're not as old as her.
My agent won't let me. My agent won't let me get away.
No way. No, I wouldn't do it. I think there's, you know, go for the younger roles while they're there.
You know,
and I think
may I just intercept on that? I always think of it as, you know, if you're going in for a particular character, I don't know if you agree with this, Jane, but I think I was asked to go in as a, would you believe, a builder or something silly. And I thought, well, I don't, you know, look like a builder, but what does a builder look like? So I just put like a, you know, just stereotypical check shirt on, tatty jeans or something to give an essence of, you know, an idea, a suggestion. And maybe that's something that you could think about, Carla. I don't know.
Believe you me, I adore preparing for it. I absolutely love going to things and I adore preparing for them.
Yes.
But because of the way I look, I'm very tall as well, and I'm RP, generally speaking. So I have that against me, I think. I don't know what Jane thinks.
Well, I just think you've got to capitalise on what you are,
what
and not try and make yourself into something else, because somewhere out there, they're looking for somebody exactly like you.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Carla. I'm going to have to say now, just to let you know, Jane, if you haven't seen it, it's now 8 o'clock. So I'm
right. Okay. I'm going to have to.
Right. Well, as I always say, I'm going to stop the recording in a moment. But just a very final thing: is there something you could say to everybody that we should all take away with us and remember, and how we're going to get through this with the COVID and everything like that? Is there a little mantra that you might like to give everybody, or something that you think we can all take away with us?
I don't think there's necessarily a mantra as such, but I just think you've got to just take all the positivity and not take on the negativity of what is going on. I mean, I live on my own. I've got my dog and my cat. My daughter lives with her boyfriend, so we've been seeing each other at whatever it is, 2 meter distance. When I was young, I was knocked down by a car, and I spent 4 months in hospital with everything in plaster. And believe me, that was isolation. That I couldn't even get up to go to the toilet. And when I came out of that, I just appreciated everything so much, being able to walk. And I just think, you know, hopefully out of this, people will appreciate being able to go out and have a picnic or a barbecue with their mates and not think about distancing and be able to go to the supermarket when we want, not have to queue up and put gloves and masks on. And I just think out of everything, you just have to be grateful, more grateful for what we normally do have that currently we don't have.
You know, taking things for granted and such, we shouldn't. It's showing everybody's sort of fragility, hasn't it, over how fragile we can be as human beings. And
it really has. And I'm on the road in Crouch End, and they've set up this Ridge Road Mutual Aid Society, and it's amazing. People will go out and get shopping. For people, they'll and they had little competitions. Take a photo of your pet. Let's get the most beautiful pet in Ridge Road. And it's just, I've got to know all my neighbours, which is
right, Jane.
There are good things.
We're going to let you go, and can you all? I will say, if you can all join me, we're all at home, I know, but let's just give Jane a very big round of applause and thank you for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Pleasure. Thank you, I hope that's helped everybody.
As the old saying goes, I hope we see you on the road.
Definitely. Thank you, John. Take care.
Thank you for coming on. Bye bye.
Pleasure. Bye for now. Bye.